Ito na, para sa bayan! Hello, mga
Oh,
ka-RRL joining us around the world. Kasama na si Ronaldo, Ricardo, at Lisandro. Ayan, for the first time laloy, gagamitin ko yung official name mo, Lisandro, para pagay tayo sa review of related
para mas
literature natin.
mas elitista ng konti.
Okay, Leloy,
Atras, nangyari na yung proposal ko.
oo naman.
Ano?
Richard, no? Dati ko
Ako
pa
naman,
pinapropose to eh.
talagang pwede dropper
Ako
kasi
rin.
isinalay ka nag-propose yan.
Ako rin. Ako rin. Napakinggan ko na ata lahat ng episode niya eh.
Ano ba pwede dropper si Ronald? Sino?
Bakit Leloy? Wala ka ba ibang ginagawa dyan?
Wala naman. Wala naman. Umaga pa lang. Nagkakape pa lang. Akala ni, akala ni Richard nagtatampo ako at nag-usap kayo eh.
Hindi ako. Hindi.
Hindi, gusto ko lang sumali eh.
Si Ronald ang nagtatampo. Anyway, ito, let's start with you, Lalo, because you're in somehow San Francisco or Bay
I
Area.
am
Okay.
not in San
You're in
Francisco.
Bay Area. Okay.
We have a lot of marami kaming Berkeley pride dito sa East Bay. Hindi namin gustong natatawag na San Francisco. May isang
Bay
tula.
Area.
Ang weather namin iba sa weather nila. We are always 1 degree warmer than they are at mas maganda dito.
Naku, parang away ng si Makati yan. But anyway, yeah. And so,
Hindi, kasi yung masasabi mo pang Metropolitan Manila yun. We're a distinct city, ibang mayor namin, iba county namin, sa
opo,
iba
sir.
bumuboto.
Opo. Anyway, pilitin ko na malapit si BBM ngayon sa'yo. Pilitin natin. So this week is going to be the gathering of top leaders from around the world. Of course, BBM, Magellan Jr. travel again. Of course, this is Apex Summit, not in your place, but in San Francisco, not too far away. But from what I understand, you hosted also another head of state recently, or a government leader dyan sa
Maraming
yeah.
maraming head of state, so nag-drive si Anwar Ibrahim 20 minutes from San Francisco to Berkeley. Grabe mag-insist na ibang lugar eh.
Yun nga eh. Where is this coming from? It's like, grabe naman.
Pride lang yan. Si Anwar Ibrahim, Prime Minister of Malaysia, hinos namin dito kahapon.
Right.
At actually, napaka-cynical ko about Anwar Ibrahim bago siya dumating kasi nga yun, nagkompromiso with yung mga kaaway niya sa Barisan National para maging Prime Minister, di ba? Tapos ngayon, si estudyante na talagang excited si Anwar at sinasabi nila necessary naman yung compromise. Siguro medyo na-inspire ako ng konti at saka mismo nakita ko si Anwar Ibrahim magsalita. Magaling talaga siya. He's a very articulate man, you know. Meron na ba tayong presidente na kayang i-quote si de Tocqueville?
Right.
On top of his head, or the Harvard philosopher William Sandel the top of his head na walang binabasa, nagko-quote lang. So, I mean, baka siguro baka yung tatay ni Marcos, pero alam naman natin na matalino yun, pero
my ghostwriter.
What that intelligence got us. Pero very impressive. Yeah. I don't know kung si Magellan Jr. kaya niyang mag-quote ng gano'ng kagaya
ni... naman.
So, sabi nga sa akin, nilapitan kagad ang audience.
Ang kinu-quote ng mga public Picasso, yung mga ganyan type.
Medyo dati nagsalita ako sa Kwan. Richard Leloy sa isang forum siya about political economy, pero umaabot hanggang literature, hanggang philosophy, no, etc. So sabi ko kay Mar, ba't walang cabinet secretary dito na makakausap natin sa ganung level? Sabi ko. talagang marami tayong scaling up na gagawin. Lalo na sa Senate na magaling magsuklay ng bigote yung ating mga senador. At
natin, may pangtapat tayo dyan sa Tocqueville at saka yung mga
I doubt it.
Rousseau ni ano?
I doubt it.
So Leloy, going back to you, kamusta si Anwar Ibrahim? Because I mean, he's very controversial nowadays. He actually gave a talk also sa amin sa Asian Center. We gave him, honorary doctorate. I mean, he's a very Filipinist, no? I mean, malaki yung kanyang respeto kay Aquinos, sa Rizal, the Philippine Liberal Democratic history. But since he came to power last year, his actual performance is anything but liberal democratic. He has been pandering to conservatives right and left. He has taken a much more liberal stance. Now, I understand he's trying to survive because yung kabila is past, no? Ito yung mga Islamist party who did very well last elections. But there should be a balance between pragmatism and political conviction.
Linawin lang natin, di ba, yung Barisan Nasional na dating partido, nakasama doon yung UMNO, yung Malay, actually, may history of Malay supremacy, and I would call it a history of Malay race, pro-Malay racism against the other groups. Yan ang former party ni Anwar, which says something about Anwar, di ba? Yung may trapo background talaga siya kasi doon siya galing. So napaaway siya doon, napakulong siya. So yung mismong nagpakulong sa kanya na linabanan niya as opposition leader, he is now in government with that same group, BN. He created a coalition. So nung nandito si Anwar, of course, I wish actually we'd asked him. Hindi ako yung moderator I wish we'd asked him harder questions. Pero pinag-usapan actually niya South China Sea. At kitang-kita mo yung diferensya talaga ng Malaysian position against yung nagiging posisyon ng Pilipinas. Una sinabi niya outright, hindi kami Pilipinas. Hindi kami Pilipinas or Vietnam. Kasi ang Pilipinas or Vietnam, may away between China and the United States. Hindi kami pumipili kasi trading partner namin pareho. And sabi niya, we are a trading country. At hahayaan ko na magtampo sa akin ang mga Amerikano kasi akala nila magiging super pro-US ako dahil trabaho daw siya sa Georgetown, marami siyang background sa US. At sa tingin niya, medyo nagulat siguro niya yung mga ibang Amerikano na ayaw niyang he didn't want to take sides. Ngayon, never naman na-mention dyan ang pangalang Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Pero nasa backdrop talaga, na sa tingin ko talaga iniisip niya na iba na yung Pilipino, yung foreign policy ng Pilipinas at saka Malaysia. Kasi the other thing about Anwar is balik sa ASEAN. Dapat ang any South China Sea dispute kasama ang ASEAN, siguro okay kami na okay kami with both parties, paulit-ulit. So it is what it is. Of course, iba naman talaga yung circumstances nila. Right. Pero iba na talaga.
I think that's a perfect segue. You're a good co-host. That's a perfect segue because in the same way that Anwar Ibrahim has turned out as anything but a liberal, democratic, pro-Western guy, Marcos Jr. is turning out as anything but another Marcos or another Duterte, right? So I think the two gentlemen are kind of meeting somewhere in the middle. In fact, nung nag-meet silang dalawa ni Marcos Jr. at saka si Anwar, I think Marcos said something like, yeah, both of us after being, oppressed and marginalized for 20 years or
oh my God.
But now, you could argue that the Philippines under Marcos Jr. is potentially more liberal democratic than Malaysia under Anwar Ibrahim, right? Or at least the Philippines is, facing a political surprise under Marcos Jr. in the same way that many in Malaysia are so disappointed about their supposed first liberal prime minister under Anwar Ibrahim. So I don't want to do another, I don't want to bash anyone here, but I'm just saying, let's talk about the Philippines. Before we talk about BBM meeting Elon Musk, let's have a separate episode on that. Let's talk about the Philippines.
Actually, pwede mag-react doon. Oo nga, no? Kasi naalala ko nung nanalo yung opposition, nanalo yung Pakatan, di ba? Parang yung mga Pilipino inggit na inggit sa Malaysia, no? Kasi nananalo si Marcos sa atin, di ba? Malakas pa rin yung Dutertismo. So parang we had nowhere to go but up kasi ang baba ng expectations natin, So dahil ang baba ng expectations natin, actually medyo masaya tayo ngayon dahil lumaya na si Leila, nakasuhan si Digong kahapon. Tapos sila, I guess dahil ang high ng expectations, nowhere to go but down. Yung Pakatan na harapan is not what it was.
Pero ano nangyari, Leloy? Dahil bago naging Prime Minister si Mahathir, si Anwar, si Mahathir yung Prime Minister, at kaalyado nila si Anwar. Yung partido ni Anwar, yung Democratic Action Party, isang coalition yun Pero very critical sa China. Ang dami nga nilang kinancel na mga projects with China, no? At yung finance minister nga ni Mahathir ay banned from China. Siya kasi yung hatchet man ni Mahathir eh. Good cop, bad cop, no? Anong nangyari? Dahil nung panahon ni Mahathir, bagamat hindi niya pinayagan mag-succeed sa kanya si Anwar, yung policy nila is very critical to China, no?
Ronald, this is another crossover, right?
Ano nangyari? Hindi ko alam.
This is another cross. I interviewed Mahathir Mohamad at saka si Chintong, di ba? Kaibigan natin si
yes,
right? From the other progressive party, who are actually Chinese Malaysians, but they're more critical of China, right?
Yes.
Including the former finance minister you mentioned. So this is the paradox. It's actually, I would say, mas crazy yung Malaysian politics in the Philippines. So today, when Anwar makes pro-China statements, Lelo is absolutely correct. Anwar consciously positioned himself as the China-friendly guy in the South China Sea because Malaysia has disputes. So ironically, Mahathir, na dati from the same party and mentor ni Najib, na pinaka pro-China, in Southeast Asia for quite some time, yun yung naging critical sa China. And then ito si Anwar, na dapat galing sa opposition, ay ngayon pro-China. Guess who is criticizing him? Yung mga dating kasama ni Anwar, ay dating kasama ni Najib, ang nag-criticize.
Yeah.
Ito yung mga kasama ni Najib na pro-China, ngayon nag-criticize kay Anwar.
Yes, pero nagulat lang ako dahil yung Justice Party, etc. nila Anwar, kasama doon sa coalition with Mahathir. At kasama sila sa nag-craft ng foreign policy ni Mahathir. Before Anwar. So, walang sinasabi si Anwar against do sa foreign policy ni Mahathir. Mas ang issue niya ron yung hindi siya pinayagang mag-succeed, no? Which means na yung coalition were clearly anti-China, no? And that was just a couple of years bago naging kwan si Anwar. Ibig ko sabihin, the party of Anwar, no? Before he became prime minister, was very anti-China. His own political party. Kaya ang tanong ko, what happened?
Kaya nga Ronald, sorry Leloy, before going back to you, because we want to talk about actually the Lima, but just on this, si Ronald makulit mag-isip yan, just to end on this Malaysia thing. The cynical thing I hear from Malaysian is, pag sa opposition ka, dyan ka biglang patriotic. Pag nasa administration ka, it suddenly dawns upon you, we have $100 billion of investments from China and hundreds of billions of dollars of trade. So suddenly lumalambot sila. So this is the cynical Malaysian take on what's happening.
Pero Richard, during that time, they were the coalition na bahagi yung partido ni Anwar was the ruling coalition.
Yes, but remember Ronald, Mahathir was bashing China for 6 months or so, and then after 6 months suddenly saying, no, there's no problem with China making 5G investments. What's the difference between being spied by the Americans and spied by the Chinese? So the Malaysians do that, Ronald. They play this good cop, bad cop. It's just part of how they do it. But the reality is that Malaysia's disputes with China are less tense compared to us. And yet they juice out the Chinese in terms of investments. And as you correctly pointed out also before, the Malaysians are actually doing the job on the ground. So so this is the classic case of speaking softly, but actually do the hard thing on the ground, which is pushing with the Petronas exploration, Jansa conflicting areas, overlapping areas with China. So that's the question, right? Whether the Philippines should go in that direction. But we can maybe leave that for a different episode, Ronald. Very good questions. I like it. I just want to start first with Leloy's understanding dito with Marcos Jr. Because I think tama sinasabi Ronald, ang gulo ng politika. But there's a logic to it. There's a method to the madness. Dito kay Marcos Jr. Leloy, I remember last year pa yata pinag-usapan natin, di ba? Sabi ko yung memo ng Department of Justice that the Lima case should be resolved. And as the tensions between DDS and BBM intensifies, I'm quite optimistic about the Lima. And you said something like, I like the way you think. I don't know if you remember one of our episodes, Leloy. So now it has happened, Leloy. How do you feel about the Lima coming out? Does this confirm your hunch about Marcos being a traditional post-Marcos president?
Well, sobrang saya. Wala na akong sasabihin dito kasi nasabi nyo na lahat kasama ni Mark Gamboa. So, i-ape ko na lang yung mga points nyo. Pero, we were talking offline, sabi mo sa akin, nabanggit mo yung about yung heroism ni De Lima. Kasi naalala mo, yung first year pa lang ni Duterte, sobrang ingay na ni De Lima. Nung time na yon, actually, lahat ng opposition, marami na tameme, natahimik, or nag-iingat. kahit si Lenny noong panahon na yun, sumasali sa cabinet. And a lot of us thought na may wisdom si Lenny kasi may nagsabi sa akin noon, parang first year ni Duterte, malakas yan, keep your head down, kundi mapupugutan ka. Sabi nila, ang galing ni Lenny because she was keeping her head down. At saka si De Lima was shooting from the hip. Naalala ko, meron akong kaibigan na journalist siya, kinover niya si Digong nung nasa Davao City pa lang siya. Yung first son ni Digong, nandun siya sa house, di ba? Tapos sinubukan niyang, lumapit siya kay De Lima, parang kinakamayan niya, di ba? And then sabi nung Davao City journalist, ayan na, sinasabi na ni Duterte kay De Lima na pwede silang maging okay. Kung ako si De Lima, kung ayaw ko makulong, kung ayaw ko mayari, tatanggapin ko na yung olive branch na yon. Kasi kung hindi mo tanggapin yung olive branch na yon, patayan na, gera patani na. Yun yung reading ng Davao journalist.
Yes.
And then after that, so nakumamay naman si De Lima, mabait siya, but then she went back and just went after Duterte again. After nagpakita ang tao ni Duterte sa kanya, sabi ng Davao journalist, ganyan mo iniinsulto si Mayor. And yung analysis nung time na yan, baka masyadong aggressive si De Lima, pero sabi mo nga, may estudyante lumapit sa akin, sabi niya, that's exactly what makes De Lima special. And tama, of course. That's exactly what makes De Lima special, and that's why kung magkakaroon ng bayani of the Duterte era, siguro si De Lima, maraming ibang bayani, maraming ibang nabigyan ng mga iba, inawardan pa. Pero nobody approximates, I think, yung heroism ni Laila De Lima. Dahil also consistent. Dahil binabasa ko yung libro ni Patricia Evangelista, di ba? Huwag natin kalimutan na yan ang isa sa mga unang nag-expose sa Davao Death Squad as CHR. So, puri lang sa tapong nito papain to.
Ron, I'll go to you and I'll go back to Leloy again more on this issue, no? Because I remember very well Leloy posted something on his Facebook back in 2017 or 18, something like you had a discussion in your class, no? And you were discussing what is the right strategy when you're facing an extremely popular and extremely authoritarian populist like Digong, no? And one of your students said something like, that's precisely when malalaman mo who has the courage of conviction. Because if everyone is going to play safe, nothing is going to happen. Someone has to hold the line. Someone has to call things out. And I think history is vindicating her in many ways. But Ronald, balikan kita dito. What is your reading of yung how opposition was approaching Duterte back in the day? Was this a kind of a sword and the shield kind of situation, or kanya-kanyang diskarte yan?
What do you mean? When?
Started,
yung first days, Ronald, yung mga iba, si Lenny pumasok muna sa administrasyon, di ba? Medyo mabait pa noong una. Tapos si De Lima nasa Senado, bumabanat. So mga iba, head down, pero si De Lima tuloy-tuloy. Ano ba yung coordinated strategy ba yun? Or ano lang yun, tapang lang talaga ni Senator De Lima yun noong panahon na yun?
Well, gusto kong gawing jumping point yung sinabi mo about Laila De Lima's heroism. By discussing specific incidents, specific experiences with her, no? Halimbawa nung kagabi, guest namin siya sa totoo lang, no? Ako, si Ed Lingao, si Manny Mugato, Joby Francisco, kami apat, no? Pinaalala ko kay Laila yung meeting namin sa DC noong December 2016. Meron siyang tour noon kapapanalo pa lang niya. Meron siyang speaking tour sa US at saka sa Europe, specifically sa Germany. Nung nasa DC siya, ka-meeting niya yung mga congressmen at senators and their chief of staff. Ang sabi ko sa kanya at saka sa kanyang abogado, si Attorney Jojo Garcia, wag na muna kayong bumalik sa Pilipinas dahil psychopath yung kalaban nyo At ito ay isang psychopath na ang dami nang pinapatay in their hundreds nung 2016.
At alam niya yun, di ba?
Oo, at ito ay galit na galit kay Laila nung mayor pa lang siya, no? At CHR si Laila. Sabi ko, pwede bang just a few months obserbahan kung ano nangyayari, dahil pagbalik mo, halos sigurado ako na ipapakulong ka or worse.
So pinapalaylo mo si Laila. Pinapalaylo mo si Laila.
Just to observe, no? Extend niya yung kanyang speaking tour while observing dahil this psychopath, hindi mo alam kung ano gagawin niya. Or baka alam mo kung ano gagawin niya, no? Pero sabi ni Laila, babalik ako. Wala naman akong ginawang mali. Wala naman akong ginawang masama. no? So I was trying to explain to her. Kaya nga kagabi, sabi ko, Laila, tigas ng ulo mo eh. Nung kinakausap kita nung December 2016, ayaw mo makinig eh. Kaya pag uwi niya, ayun, kinulong siya, no? At hindi lang siya kinulong, nilapastangan siya sa mga hearing sa Congress, 'di ba? Yung hindi lang yung kanyang pagkatao, yung kanyang pagkababae, 'di ba? Talagang kaya nga 2 nights ago, pinalabas namin yung mga banat ni Digong sa kanya when he was the president. Now, just to create the narrative na talaga nag-intervene si Digong sa kaso niya, no? That was 2 nights ago. Pero last night, pinag-usapan namin ni Laila yan. Pero even nitong nakaraang taon, pwede sana makalaya earlier si Laila eh. Dahil hindi naman siya kaaway ni BBM eh. Si Laila could be a low-hanging fruit eh nung naging presidente si BBM. Lalo na gusto ni BBM na pabaguhin yung Marcos brand, i-reinvent sa international. At madaling gawin yan dahil hindi niya kaaway si Laila. Lalo na 3 resolutions ang nilabas ng European Parliament para palayain si Laila. 2 resolutions ng US Congress para palayain si Laila. 1 resolution ng US Senate. 2 resolution ng International Parliamentary Union, etc. etc. So, kung gusto ni BBM na ma-rebrand or ma-reinvent or ma-renovate yung Marcos brand, si Laila yung isang magandang instrument, no? Kung hindi nila didiinan yung prosecution, hindi nila didiinan yung mga judge, katulad ng ginawa ni Digong during the 6 years na nakakulong si Laila, no? Pero nag-offer sila ng way out kay Laila. Yung isa ay sabihin niya na meron siyang malalang sakit para bibigyan siya ng house arrest. Tinanggihan ni
wheelchair, mga neck
tinanggihan ni Laila. Sabi niya, I'm not in the best of health, pero hindi naman malala yung aking sakit. So, it was a lifeline na hindi niya kinuha, no? Dahil ayaw niya magsinungaling. And then there was another lifeline na yung nangyari kay Gigi Reyes, yung chief of staff ni Enrile, yung kasama sa Napoles. Ang in-invoke naman habeas corpus para mabigyan ng bail. Ang sabi ni Laila, ginagawa yan, no? Ginagawa yan kung mahina ang kaso mo at humanitarian yung issue. Ako naman, hindi naman ako namamalimos ng humanitarian ng PT eh. At sigurado ko yung aking kaso malakas. So hindi niya kinuha yung lifeline na yon last year. Ibig sabihin talaga kung halimbawa kung ako yon o si Richard, baka kinuha na namin yun eh, yung lifeline na yun.
Okay nga Ronald, so what you're saying, I like what you're saying. By the way, gentlemen, I'll just have to take a break short. You go ahead with your conversation because a low bat lang, I'll just get my charger. But let me say this and then listen to both of you guys. I want to get Ronald and then want to get also Lelo in this. So what you're saying, Ronald, is it's not just her going all the way in 2016 that landed her where she was, but she was given multiple opportunities to reassess her approach to politics and fighting for human rights, and she still decided to stick to her convictions and all. And that makes her a triple hero, right? Because it's not just the first time when she went against Digong, but it's also the fact that multiple times she was given a way out and exit ramp, but she didn't take it because she felt that would diminish her struggle and that would diminish the moral capital she brings to the table.
Pinanatan nga siya ni Secretary Remulla nung hindi niya kinuha yung humanitarian track, no? Ang sabi ni Laila, gusto ko yung desisyonan niyo ito on the merits of my case, not on the humanitarian habeas corpus issue.
Gusto niya vindication.
Nagalit si Remulla, no?
Gusto niya talaga vindication, no, Ronald?
Yes, no?
Actually, yun yung tanong ko kasi nga vindication, and obviously vindication mode siya ngayon. Nag-hint na titirahin si Digong, nakakasuhan si Digong. Kasi nga gusto niya talaga yung full vindication, hindi niya gustong lumaya lang siya. Gusto niya kahit yung mga yung mga tormentor niya, mapatunayan na may malicious intent. I know this is a principled move at ito yung tamang move na dapat gawin. At of course, hindi napatunayan na natin na hindi talaga strategy gumalaw si Senator De Lima. Pero strategically, ano yung point nito ng going on the offensive?
Well, una, marami sa mga witnesses na nag-rescind ng kanilang testimony, sinabi na pinressure sila halimbawa ng isang Secretary of Justice para gawin yan. No? So hindi pwedeng palampasin yun, no?
Wigman.
Si Aguirre, no? Sinabi nung mga witnesses katulad ni NBI Director Ragos na
sabi ka naman, Leloy.
Tawag sa kanya dati. Siya yun, di ba?
Sino?
Di ba Wigman ang tawag sa kanya dati?
Oo.
Baka ma-contempt case tayo dyan.
Oo. So yun yung no, na
allegedly.
Kaya partly
allegedly Wigman or allegedly yung Wigman may ginawa.
So kaya partly ay talagang hindi pwedeng palampasin. 'Di ba? Di talaga pwedeng palampasin, no? At ikalawa ay it's also political, eh. 'Di ba? It's also political na yung political base nila Laila, the Pink, no, ay talagang galit na galit yan kila Digong. So it could be a strategy to harness that base. Na since last election, parang walang nag-harness dahil parang nawala na si Lenny, tapos yung Liberal Party na wipe out, no? Si Risa naman focusing on legislative work. Baka si Lenny yung maging political leader na mag-harness ng pink wave na yan after more than a year. Almost 1.5 years, no? Sana may abutan pa. Sana nandyan pa, no? At isa sa mga pwedeng target para i-organize yung pink wave na yan ay yung Duterte factor, na galit sila, no, for a long time, ay buhayin. Isa yan sa mga possible na anchors kung na pwedeng gamitin ni Laila para i-harness or buhayin itong pink wave.
Let me ask a very serious question and I'll ask Lelo a more historical question. Ronald, meron ka bang intel kung si Harry Roque din ano? Kasi di ba usapan Wigman bigla. Anyway,
no.
Wala akong sinabi. Di mo na kailangan sagutin, Ronald, baka makasuhan tayo.
Hindi ko masyadong naintindihan yung tanong kanina.
Di umano.
May nagtanong na di umano na hindi lang si Wigman, baka Wigman din yung ibang ni.
Mukhang iba yung liability ni Harry Roque.
Okay, moving on. Baka makasuhan tayo. Baka ma-SMNI tayo dyan.
Hindi, binanggit ko na yan sa interviews, no? Nung sinabi niya na sinusuportahan niya yung Sarah Amy Slate dahil these two ladies have balls. No?
Ayan na may mga cojones. Okay.
Sabi ko, I agree. Ang problema, yung nagsabi, wala.
Di umano. Kasi delikado tayo.
Di umano, Ronald.
Dahil hindi naman ako katulad ni Leloy na politically correct eh. Ako, okay lang ako.
Hindi! Leloy, paras kayong talagang.
Hindi, ako may di umano, siya wala eh.
Leloy, is there historically a precedent for someone like Leila de Lima? Diba? I and Ronald have talked about the Mandela moment for de Lima, right? In a way, for me, she has to be nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. I'm 100% going to be behind it. I know a thing or two about that. I'm not going to give more information about it, but moving forward, Lelo, ikaw, is there historically a precedent for this kind of almost martyr-like kind of politician? Ninoy? Is that
Ninoy,
level? Ninoy?
Hindi naman iba yung levels, 'di ba? Pero marami naman, 'di ba? So Rizal, Ninoy, and even on the left si Isabelo de los Reyes na naging senador, pero before that, of course, pinakulong sa Montjuic Castle in Barcelona. Our first ever socialist senators, marami, and yung parallel din, senador din kagaya ni De Lima. So marami namang president.
Can you talk about that, the De Los Reyes?
And the other president I was just thinking about is, of course, napag-usapan natin si Anwar, hindi sa Pilipinas, pero si Anwar Ibrahim, di ba? Parang, but in many ways si Anwar halos parang Pilipino din yan dahil bumibisita sa UP, fan ni Rizal, di ba? And actually likes talking about Philippine politics and engaging Filipinos. So,
close kay Erap.
Close kay Erap. Kagaya ni Mahathir, close din kay Erap.
Bro, can we talk about Isabela de los Reyes? Because he's, I think, the smart
Ilustrado. Ilocano.
No, look, I mean, he was really brilliant. Right? We had a separate episode about how Rizal felt competitive with him. Kaya he did a lot of his work. At least that's a Benedict Anderson reading of situation. But can we talk about it? Because the thing with Isabela de los Reyes is that not only was he not martyred like Rizal during the revolution time, but he lived quite a long life. He became a senator. He became an organizer, the first socialist. So he was kind of the Bernie Sanders.
He said there was so much energy in me na parang something like the energy in me could fill the entire world. And yung energy niya went to doing things like building the socialist movement, building the IFI, yung independent church, yung Aglipayan, siya yung main theologian noon, and of course naging senador. Tapos yung first time niya pumunta sa Senado, ayaw niyang gumamit ng kotse dahil daw ayaw niyang magbayad para sa mga kotse ng mga Amerikano at bumili ng gas galing sa Amerikano. So he arrived in a horse-drawn carriage. Tapos yung energy niya, syempre ang dami niyang anak, 12 ata anak niya or something like that, hindi na matandaan, basta sobrang dami. Which, the man, just really parang larger, si Don Belong, larger than life, really energetic fellow. And I'm sure kagaya ko may some kind of ADD yung mamang yun.
I had the sense like something is going on there.
Kasi daming ginagawa eh. Pero ano yung tanong mo, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, what was his dilemma moment? Where's the parallel na kinulong siya? I mean,
alam mo si Isabela de los Reyes, kaya medyo inggit sa kanya si Rizal kasi ito si Rizal, even yung mga Luna brothers, mga foreign educated yan, di ba? So mayabang sila. At the same time, ito si Isabela de los Reyes na lahat ng degree galing lang sa Pilipinas, from di pa Ilocano, di ba? Siya nakakapagsulat sa mga nagsusulat para sa La Solidaridad, kagaya nila, may correspondence with Blumentritt, kagaya nila. So, in many sense, they were like, sino tong Ilocano na ito na sa tingin niya, ka-level natin siya. And I think yun yung importance ni Isabela de los Reyes. So, the only time Isabela de los Reyes ended up in Spain, in Barcelona, was nung napakulong siya, in-exile siya, they put him on a ship, tapos kinulong siya sa Montjuic Castle. So meron din ganyang klaseng martyrdom. Pero I think yung process na yun, kasi I think interesting din yung jail, di ba? Jail time is where a lot of people really grow spiritually in Mandela, Aquino. And sa tingin ko si Anwar, kaya nakita siya kahapon, parang ang daming alam nito. Siyempre naman, ang dami mong oras magbasa eh. Ano pa gagawin mo sa kulungan, di ba? So, sa tingin ko, meron talagang moment sa Isabela de los Reyes, from somebody who was really concerned with, largely Ilocano politics, with largely nationalist politics, paglabas niya galing sa Montjuic Castle, doon niya na-develop yung kanyang anarchy, doon niya na-develop yung kanyang socialism, doon niya nabasa yung mga Kropotkin, yung mga Marx, and inuwi niya yon sa Pilipinas. So, I'm interested nga, just going back to Leila de Lima, alam ko, kayo pareho, marami kayong binigay na libro sa kanya nung nasa Senado siya, di ba?
Ako, Stoicism. Ikaw, Ronald, ano binigay mo sa kanya?
After all these, 7 years, after all these years of solitude and reading, and alam ko, for a while, sabi na nanay ko, ang hilig daw niya magbuhat sa loob ng jail cell. Talagang nag-exercise daw siya. What kind of intellect does de Lima have after exiting the jail cell?
Ikaw, Ronald, you spend more time with her. I only visited her, I think, once. If I'm saying, ikaw, multiple times.
Dinadala ko sa kanya pagkain eh. Pinagluluto ko siya ng mga paborito niyang pagkain, no? Tapos, almost the whole day, puro alaskahan lang, puro biruan lang, no? Dahil ayoko masyadong heavy yung pag-usapan eh, no? Kaya, lalo na nung nasa cabinet kami, kaalaskahan ko yan eh. Si Laila, no? Lagi ko siyang tinatawag, ipokrita. Paano yung mga kaaway niya sa cabinet, no? Syempre nakikipagbeso-beso siya, no? Kaya pag nakikipagbeso-beso siya doon sa hindi ko nababanggitin ng mga kaaway niya sa cabinet, no? Biglang across the table sa cabinet, sesenyas ako siya, bubulong ko. Ipokrita. So
ay nako, pag bineso niya si Harry Roque, then pwede ka
kinamayan nga si Digong nung di ba? Si Digong
Kaya inaalas ko siya. Ako kasi hindi ako ipokrito eh. I call a spade. So, kaya inaalaska ko siya.
Ikaw, Ronald, strapo ka.
Political affairs ako eh. Kaya hindi ako, pwede, okay lang na hindi ako hipokrito. Pero siya DOJ eh.
Gets
huge department, no? Under niya ang BID, no? Et cetera. So, yan. Kaya, halimbawa, kagabi sa namin, sa STL, sa show namin, na nag-guest siya, pinag-usapan namin nung binalya niya ako sa basketball. Dahil nagkaroon ng basketball league yung cabinet eh, no? Parang team building, no? Grabe mamalya si Kim Henares tsaka si Laila de Lima. Tumatalsik talaga kami, no? Doon sa kagabi tawanan kami, pinagkwentuhan namin.
Ano yan? Pa-drug test yan. I'm just kidding. Steroids yan.
Tapos napag-usapan
din details ka ba?
Napag-usapan din namin nung high school siya tsaka elementary, siya Marjoret, no? Kagabi. So, pag nag-uusap kami ni Laila, lalo na sa preso, very light lang. Very light lang yung kwentuhan namin, no? Imagine mo, muntik siya mapatay sa preso. Diba?
Oo nga, pero yun
siya mapatay, diba? Yung bala, dumapli sa ulo niya. Pero yun. No?
Yun nga, Ronald, yung tanong ko diba? Imposibleng papasok ka na senador, makapangyarihan, former cabinet minister, tapos papasok ka ng kulungan, munti ka na mamatay, 7 years ka doon. Ano yung diferensya ng Leila de Lima going in and Leila de Lima coming out ng kulungan?
I think she's much stronger, no? Tingin ko mahaba rin yung panahon niya para mag-reflect, no? Kaya tingin ko, kaya nga sinabi kong Mandela moment, dahil yung dinaanan ni Mandela in ilang dekada ba 'yon? No? Qualitatively dinaanan din nila yon. At least si Nelson Mandela hindi muntik mamatay sa preso. Si Laila nung hino-stage siya nung Abu Sayyaf ba yun, no? Talagang sinabi, pasensya na kayo, ma'am, no? Pero idadamay ko na kayo dahil mamamatay na ako rito, no? Yun yung talagang sinabihan na siya na napapatayin din siya.
Ronald, I have a question. Sorry that I didn't manage to ask you in our own separate episodes. Was there something about her that gave you an inkling that if push comes to shove, she will go for the Mandela moment? In a sense that you were not surprised, because I remember, was it 2015, diba, na she took on the most powerful religious institution in the country, if I'm not mistaken. Remember yung nagkaroon na, right? Remember? And then parang si Pinoy
sa kanya. Nadamay nga ako eh. Nadamay ako sa hitlist eh. Galit na galit sa kanya, no? And by the way, no, kasama namin siya sa UNCROS delegation.
Yes, of course. She's also a lawyer.
She was there, no? Kaya ayun, pero hindi siya binitawan ni Pinoy, no? Even if that religious organization was asking.
He didn't go to her birthday, I remember, no?
No, pero hindi siya umatras. Tapos siya rin ang sinisisi ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo sa kanyang pagkakakulong, no? Pero hindi binitawan ni Laila yon dahil papunta na sa airport si GMA noon para lumabas, at yung iba sa gobyerno ni Pinoy ay okay sa kanila na lumabas na si GMA, no? Pero si Laila talagang hanggang last minute, no, hinabol niya nakakuha siya ng whole departure order last minute, no, para hindi makaalis si GMA, while others in her own government ay okay na makawala. Okay,
so she was always special, diba? She was always the odd one out, right? I mean, yun nga, it's not like yung 2016, 2017 kay Digong lang Nung Davao days pa ni Digong, siya yung lumaban kay Digong sa City Hall pa yata ng Davao. She gave that conference about human rights. I mean, that was like, it's like going to Pyongyang and having, a press conference about what's wrong with Kim Jong-un, right? I mean, sorry, okay, I didn't mean, but you get understand just how powerful Digong was in Davao back in the day. I'm not equating Davao, of course, with that country. I'm just saying that was really very cojones move, no? So over and over again, from 2009 until 2016, she always showed that strength of will. And then so I'm just looking at her arc of heroism. There's nothing surprising there. She has been consistently talagang matigil.
Talaga, papanindigan niya. Halimbawa, even during that time na si HR siya, ina-investigahan niya si Digong, may mga tumatawid dahil pareha silang San Beda No? Pareha silang San Beda. So may mga bedista na tumatawid, ina-arbor. No? Ganon, etc. Ayaw niya. Hindi siya ganon. No? Mahalaga sa kanya kung ano yung tama.
Ikaw, Lele, what's your reading on her again as a historian? Like, do we need heroic figures, martyr figures, or martyr-like figures every generation or so? Is that essential? I mean, remember Jefferson, something like, every revolution needs some blood, to quench the thirst of its roots or something like that. Does every democratic transition process need a martyr-like figure to stand a chance? Because imagine the Philippines without her. No offense to the other one, but I don't think our democratic struggle would have meant the same if there was not someone like her. In the same way, I don't think there would be EDSA if there was no Ninoy. In the same way, I don't think, you get what I'm saying? It's like, parang every generation or every major democratic struggle, you need that martyr-like figure. And I think it's her, no offense to the other people, but I think she was really the one.
Richard, more broadly, hindi lang martyr-like figure at saka hindi lang periods of dictatorship. Sa tingin ko, when there are periods of moral decline, kailangan mo ng propeta. Kasi moral decline naman talaga eh. Narinig ko yung last episode mo, pikon na pikon ka na sa mga trolls mo, tapos ang sinasabi mo, sa galit mo, sinasabi mo, naghari-harian kayo. Naghari-harian kayo for 6 years. Akala nyo lahat pwede nyong lapastanganin. Akala nyo lahat pwede nyong ipapatay. Ganyan kayo kayabang at ganyan kayo kamanhid. So it's this combination of yabang and manhid na talaga dark days talaga for the morality of the Filipino people. Talagang kinurap talaga yung mga puso natin at saka poisonous talaga yung rhetoric ni Duterte. Lahat ng kasamaan ng the Filipino is indeed worth dying for because it has many good attributes, but if you have a Duterte there, ang dami ring venom sa puso ng Pilipino at pag may moment na gano'n, kailangan mo ng propeta. So sa tingin ko, obligasyon namin mga historiador na pag isulat itong kasaysayan na to, hindi lang my generation of historians, pero yung mga people after us pa, na talagang ipakita that this was a period of moral decline, and amidst that period of moral decline, meron talagang mga propeta na sinasabing merong mali, merong lason sa bayan ko dito sa 6 years na to. At napakalinaw kung sino yun.
Imagine December 2020, Pulse Asia survey, 91% si Digong approval rating. Yan exactly yung poison na nag-permeate mismo sa ating bansa. Dahil kahit yung mga pinaglilingkuran mo, kahit yung mga pinaglalaban mo, no? Ay na-poison na-poison ng ganitong klaseng hatred, no? Ng ganitong klaseng populism.
But let me tell you, gentlemen, one thing I observed, because I was always obsessed with comparative populism, right? Modi, I followed his trajectory. Erdogan in Turkey, I followed also Jokowi to a certain degree. And then, of course, you have Hugo Chavez and those types. All of them had huge movements, right? They could bring out millions of people even on the streets, right? If they needed them for a populist movement. For some reason with Digong, no? Para siyang postmodern populist. He was very popular online in surveys and all. But after yung meeting the Avanza niya, which Lele also had a very good observation. Remember when he mentioned what Allah Akbar means? He was talking about, interfaith dialogue. That was it. After that, wala nang lumabas masyado na DDS.
Ronald, di ba nung una si Evasco, sinusubukan gumawa ng movement, di ba? Dahil may movement background talaga si Evasco. So kung nabuo yun,
kilusang pagbabago.
Oo, ano yun? Yun ba yung
magiging... At maraming mga tao sa kaliwa.
Oo, yun magiging fascist.
Hindi lang yung mga kaibigan mong reaffirmists, no? Ang sumama ron, no?
So ano ba yun? Was that an attempt to create yung fascist ni Digong na nagunaw dahil online talaga ang kanyang fascism, no?
Well, si Evasco dahil anti-Marcos siya at saka wala siyang tiwala kay GMA, na stalwart supporter ni Digong. No, yun yung mga nagbigay ng pondo na anong panahon na wala nang tumutulong Inamin ni Digong yan Itong si GMA at saka yung Marcos.
Nilaglag ni Digong. No? Nilaglag nila.
Ito yung tumulong sa akin. No? Hindi ako magiging presidente kung hindi dahil sa mga to. So si Evasco at that time ay he has to take that. He has to accept that. But at the same time ay gusto niya magbuo ng a separate pole within the the Digong camp. Kaya nagtayo sila ng mga chapters na ang pangalan Kilosang Pagbabago, KP, no? At hindi lang 'yan galing dun sa mga reaffirmist, nanggaling din yung marami diyan sa mga rejectionists, no? Diyan. Yung isa nga sa kaibigan mo, Richard, nung simula very optimistic kay Digong dahil anti-US, no? Anti-elite, no? Anti-oligarchy, at least yung lengguwahe niya nung simula.
Just to be clear, Ronald, I also blame myself because initially in the first few months I wanted to give him benefit of that. Let me just come clean on that. I'm a self-aware guy.
Pero ako kasi kilala ko siya nung mayor siya.
Yeah.
Kaya, the Digong na mayor and the Digong as president in 2016 and the Digong na lumabas na yung kwan is the same Digong, no? Dahil meron akong luxury na makilala siya even before. Ito yung tao nagpapatay ng mga nagsimula yung DDS nung mayor siya, di ba? At inaamin niya yun, no? Publicly when he was mayor. Kaya nga ang sabi ko doon sa mga reaffirmists, ano ba akala nyo na nagbago si Digong? No? Yun yung sinasabi ko sa kanila no?
Dahil Ronald, umiiyak siya doon sa harap ng puntod ng nanay niya, di ba? Nagbabago na siya.
Sabi niya, I will metamorphose, di ba? That the office, the dignity, sabi niya, the dignity of the
state.
Kaya last week, binanggit ko yan na dapat itong mga kaibigan natin sa kaliwa has to come clean. Hanggang ngayon, wala silang pag-amin Hanggang ngayon, wala silang assessment doon sa naging role nila sa pagkapanalo ni Digong at yung first 2 years ni Digong.
Hindi umaamin, Ronald. Nagkukunwari pa na wala nangyayari. Iga-gaslight ka pa pag sinabi mo sinuportahan nila. Tatawagin ka pang red baiter. By the way, don't use
I think this is a perfect segue for our next segment. Sorry, guys. Okay, sorry guys for cutting. I think this is a perfect segue for our next segment, next episode. Because the next episode, I want to talk about kamusta yung kaliwa because we are seeing some very interesting realignments. Parang may mga counter unit team, may alternative unit team na nangyari. And again, I'll give credit to Ronald for being one of the first person to opening mentioning that. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this very crisscrossing all over the place but still very focused discussion. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I raised that point about asking Ronald, no, diba, consistently she proved her heroism and her courage of conviction. Hindi lang yun once, twice, throughout the years. 2009 pa lang, nakita natin she was really different. And also, I think in a way, we're giving proper credence, no? And proper respect, to her legacy. So thank you very much also, Leloy, for reminding me of that really important post you had on Facebook, which said, if she was not the one, if everyone played it smart and played it safe, then good luck sa atin. You're not gonna have a democratic struggle if everyone's gonna be smart. You always need that one person, right? That one person who raises the hand and say, I'm not gonna follow everyone else. I think that's a perfect segue for the next episode. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that fantastic first ever episode. Hopefully more of this, RRL. Alam ko medyo magulo tayo noong una kasi tech and all. But I hope mas smooth yung next episode natin. Thank you very much, gentlemen.